As a photojournalist, I have the privilege to witness humanity at its best and at its worst, and everything in between. My role is as a mirror, and I want to expose you to the raw truth and make you a witness to it. You can look away or stand up and act for change. There is no chronology of the events which you will see today, but I just hope I don't have to photograph them again. But I can assure you all that if they are ever repeated, I will try my best to record and bring them to you. In 2017, more than 700,000 Rohingya Muslims had to take a dangerous journey to escape persecution at their homelands in Myanmar. Thousands of them died during this exodus. This sunburned and exhausted Rohingya woman had to wait for days to get an opportunity to escape. She, along with thousands of other Rohingyas, waited on a small beach in the hope that some boat from neighboring Bangladesh will come and take them to a safer land. In the end, she was able to make it on a fishing boat along with her surviving family members. The boat, which was cramped with mostly women and children, had to dodge Myanmar's military and then monsoon's choppy water to reach Bangladeshi coastline. I could feel her sinking as she stepped on the beach and clutched the sand. She couldn't believe that she had survived death. I photographed her only for a very few moments and then left her with the sound of waves. I didn't want her to hear my camera shutter. I just wanted her to feel at peace before getting ready for another fight for survival at the refugee camps. In the same year, more than 1 million Iraqis were getting displaced in their own country. They were all running away from one of the deadliest urban battles since World War II. The battle for Mosul, as it was called, was a military campaign to push out Islamic State militants who had seized the city in 2014. Thousands of Iraqis died during this conflict, and it left once a grand and historic city of Mosul in ruins. As you can see in this photograph, an Iraqi soldier is throwing a hand grenade from a rooftop at Islamic State fighters who are just meters away. Residents of this house, like many other Iraqis, had taken shelter in refugee camps as their homes were being used to fight battles. As you all know, Afghanistan has been under the shadow of conflict for the last 40 years. It started with the Soviet invasion, then came the civil war and Taliban era, and then the ongoing war which started after the US invasion in 2001. More than 100,000 people have been killed in the last 18 years. I was in Afghanistan a year after Osama bin Laden was killed and was embedded with a platoon of young US Army soldiers. Most of them were coming to a war zone for the first time and were stationed at a combat outpost for operations which was earlier a school. The school rooftop was used mostly to repel attacks by Taliban militants, but on some lucky days, the soldiers used it to practice their golf swings. Almost 70 kilometers away from this, a few Afghans were trying to escape this conflict by thronging to movie theaters. There were just 7 cinemas operating, down from 23 Kabul once boasted before the onslaught of the civil war in 1992, which destroyed 2/3 of the city. I photographed these theaters for a few days, which were mostly packed by Afghan men. Apart overexcited patrons, the biggest hurdle to shoot inside these theaters was the smoke. I had to take a break after every 15-20 minutes because there were just too many hash-smoking people inside them. This is not a regular bus. This is a bus which is covered with bamboo shields and is used for transporting paramilitary forces and is also used as a security barricade. This is a common scene in one of the world's most militarized zones. It's called Kashmir. In 2019, the Indian government scrapped the controversial Article 370, a constitutional provision, which allowed the state of Jammu and Kashmir to make its own laws. And unprecedented sanctions were imposed on the valley. It included communication blackout, detentions of hundreds of political workers, and restrictions on the movement of civilians. Sora, a densely populated enclave, became the epicenter of resistance against the Indian government. Residents led mostly by women, protested during the daytime, while young men armed with stones and sticks guarded their neighborhood from forces. Many were injured as Indian forces tried to come into this neighborhood on multiple occasions. This is the X-ray of a teenage boy who was shot during one of these protests by deadly pellet guns. He, like many other Kashmiris, had to escape from hospital after getting initial medical aid to avoid arrest. As you all know, our neighboring country, Sri Lanka, was enjoying peace after almost 26 years of civil war, when it was shaken by deadly bomb blasts which ripped through churches and luxury hotels on Easter Sunday in 2019. More than 200 innocent people died during these bombings. I reached the island country a week after on a journalist visa, but most importantly, as a father, a husband, a son, and a brother. I wanted to show the world the emptiness of these places which the victims left behind. I wanted to show the silence of these places and how they missed their occupants. This is the bedroom of the Fernando family, which the young couple shared with their two beautiful daughters and an 11-month-old son. As I entered the house for the first time, the first thing which I noticed was its bright walls, which were covered with pictures of a small and happy family. As you can see from the photograph, the family loved co-sleeping, a practice which is common amongst young parents like me. All 5 of them, dressed in their best clothes, went for Easter Sunday prayers, and not a single one returned. When most of the issues in these days are being fought on social media platforms, Hong Kong youngsters have taken to streets, facing tear gas and rubber bullets to fight for their future rights. This is the photograph of a schoolgirl who calls herself as Liberty Girl God. Children as young as her are part of global street protests which started in 2019 and have now spilled into 2020. It's an extraordinary moment in history where young civilians are rising against their respective governments which have been elected with a popular mandate. You all can try hard to ignore it, but I'm afraid other photojournalists and I will keep exposing you to these bitter man-made events in the hope that one day you will notice the suffering and the pain in these photographs which we take and stand up for change. Thank you.